Here we go, episode 160 of The Hardline. Michael Merlo, John Michael Masiri, here with you over the computer today, a little online episode, as we're going to do a little bit of a breakdown of what we saw in the AFC and NFC Championship game and do a fun preview of the Super Bowl coming up before we get to our big, nitty-gritty, smart football men preview, which we'll do next week. JM, it was a great championship Sunday, in my opinion. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Taking away any sort of personal investment in the games and what I wanted to happen, yeah, I think it was a very good Sunday. I think, obviously the first game maybe wasn't as close as some hoped to be, but it was still a good, intriguing game. And the second game was a classic.
Yeah, the second game was unbelievable. We're going to start there. I agree with you, though. We'll get to that first game because, for like a quarter, it was interesting. It was literally interesting for a quarter where you're like, okay, maybe the Commanders have a chance, but it really wasn't. Okay, before we get started, we'll do a little housekeeping. Make sure, again, if you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, you're subscribed to the channel. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please give us a rating, a follow on there. Leave comments, whatever you'd like. We really appreciate the support there. JM, you said classic. I agree. The thing about the legacies for both of these quarterbacks, more so obviously Allen than anybody else, he had a lot to lose in this game. And it's another one of those performances where you can't put it on Josh. At the end of the day, he's the quarterback. He'll take the blame, but they didn't lose because Josh Allen lost them the game.
Right. They did not lose because Josh Allen lost them the game. They lost, honestly, if I could choose one exact thing, I think they got outcoached. I think, like usual, I think Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo drew up a great game plan. The Bills looked outmatched in certain big scenarios. They looked overwhelmed in terms of schematics at times, especially at the end of the game. We know that play, that fourth down play, the chuck up to Dalton Kincaid that he ultimately should have came down with, but that was just a complete broken play the minute the ball was snapped, missed blocking assignments. And there were a couple examples of that throughout the game. So, say what you want about the referees and everything like that. And I have my beefs there, but to be pointing fingers at them and saying they were the reason of the result of the Chiefs going back to another Super Bowl, I think is a bit of a stretch.
But can we go there for a second? Because I have a serious problem with just thinking the Chiefs are in this spot because of the referees. There was one call that was bad. I didn't think that Worthy caught it. I thought at that point, the ball hit the ground. They were wrestling for it. Like, it should have just been incomplete. It should have been an incomplete pass. Now, I understand there was a penalty on it, and it actually ended up helping the Bills that was called a catch because then the Chiefs couldn't kill more clock and then score. The Bills were able to get the ball back a play later and then score a touchdown. So it ended up helping them out. That wasn't a catch, though. But please, the amount of people that think the Chiefs are here because of the referees and that they're on their side, it's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, it's a bit far-fetched. There were some other calls that were sketchy, and in the heat of the moment when you're watching and you're looking through the lens of your hatred of the Chiefs, like anything that is remotely in the direction of them with a flag, you're like, oh, BS. Their refs are just looking out for the Chiefs. Even that first down that ultimately didn't end up being a first down for the Bills. We all know the play I'm talking about when Allen sneaked it and we saw every little camera angle. I still don't know what the right call was. It was very, very close. It was getting way blown out of proportion that was such an awful call. There were, sure, if I had to choose a side that I think got the benefit of some of the calls, I'll go with Kansas City. But again, the Chiefs, I think, deserved to win that football game, and they were the better team.
It's 3 straight Super Bowls. It's 3 Super Bowl rings for this team, for this group: Reed, Kelsey, Mahomes, Spagnuolo. It is just, again, the people crying and bitching about the referees. Enough. This is, if not the greatest dynasty we've ever seen, the second greatest dynasty we've ever seen. And you may get a couple of calls here and there, sure, to help it out. The Patriots sure got a couple of big calls that helped out the trajectory of that dynasty, but please, they're better than everybody else. You mentioned it. They're so well coached. The advantages that they have with Spagnuolo, with Reed, it is through the roof. Those two guys on any given Sunday against most teams are the two best coaches on the field.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, just going back to the way the Chiefs played and all that, you knew that if this game was going to get down to a late game scenario and one team had to come through, you knew it was going to be Kansas City, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, the Bills did a great job late in the game scoring that touchdown on 4th down, which, by the way, we were talking about coaching before. This is not getting talked about, luckily for Sean McDermott, because they ended up scoring on the next play. But that 3rd and goal fade route to Keon Coleman was one of the worst play calls I have seen in a playoff game in that scenario in a long time.
Off of JM, what was it? It was a timeout.
Yeah.
Before then.
Yep.
That was awful.
They thought, let's go against McDuffie, an all-pro. Let's throw a fade route to a rookie.
It was awful. I wrote that down watching the game mid-game. I was like, are they serious?
Yeah. And the thing that makes no sense to me, like the thing that makes Josh Allen, is in a scenario like that where you're close to the goal line, he's so good because he's tough to bring down. He can do things with his legs. He has the arm strength to put it in a really tight window if need be. Like there are so many different ways that he could go about scoring a touchdown there. And your solution is let's get the ball out of his hands in 1 second with no other options besides throwing this fade route to Keon Coleman. It was terrible. And then what do you know? The next play, he bailed out his coach because he made a nice play, scanning his reads. Curtis Samuel leaked out behind the zone, and he found him for a touchdown. So Sean McDermott got lucky, or Joe Brady got lucky. Whoever the hell was in charge of that play call got lucky.
Yeah. Brady had a terrible game. Joe Brady had an awful game here. The amount of times they went to the tush push when it clearly was not working. Again, I've said this all week. Tony Romo knew that Josh Allen likes to run the tush push to the left side A gap. He knows that. Okay? If Romo knows that, the Chiefs know that. And they were ready for it every single time. To continue to go back to that in 3rd and 4th and short situations when Cook was having a very nice game. He's a problem, by the way. He's a great player. It was remarkable. I couldn't believe it. So, yeah, the coaching is the difference. And I'm not saying they have to sit here and get rid of Sean McDermott because I don't know how you upgrade. But in this scenario, in this battle, I think until Andy Reid retires, you're going to have problems because McDermott's the defensive. He's a defensive coach. You're supposed to be. That was their best performance offensively. They haven't scored 30 points all year until that game against Sean McDermott, defensive coach.
Yep.
What are we doing?
That's just Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. It's the same exact thing that we had with Belichick and Brady and Bill Walsh and Joe Montana. You know, like you get that coach and quarterback combo. And it's over with. Like you're done. There's nothing you can do. And especially when you think about the Chiefs, the experience that this team's had, the constant winning, doing it over and over and over again. It's a cliche, but it's true. People say they know how to win games. They just know how to win games. And they do. You look at that late game scenario. I just pulled it up on Pro Football Reference. Patrick Mahomes in the past 3 postseasons has had that includes, obviously 2 Super Bowls and now a Super Bowl appearance with maybe another Super Bowl ring coming. He's got 2 game-winning drives in 2022. He did it against Cincinnati, and he did it against Philly in the Super Bowl. He's got 2 game-winning drives in 2023. Did it against Buffalo on the road, and he did it in the Super Bowl against the Niners. And then he's got 1 game-winning drive this year. That's against Buffalo. And I did not also mention that 4 out of those 5 game-winning drives also include fourth-quarter comebacks. So, I mean, they're nails, man. Like, they're just a guarantee when they get in these situations. And we'll talk about the Super Bowl a little bit later, and we're going to talk about it really next week. But, I mean, how can you put your money against this team at this point? The same thing happened last year. I went through the same exact thing last year. I said it's the Ravens' year. It's finally – the Chiefs don't have home field advantage. They don't have the receivers, blah, 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 blah. The Chiefs end up proving me wrong, and then we got to Super Bowl week. And I basically was like, I'm going to take all the money I'm comfortable betting and put it on the Kansas City Chiefs because how could I be wrong at this point?
Yeah, it's 100% true. I actually went on the other side of them in the Super Bowl last year. I was on the Niners, and that was tough to watch. But yeah, JM, it's remarkable how good they are. And again, it goes back to being in these situations so much. And like now, I forget who I was listening to, but it's like anything in life. If you continue to do something so many times, right, you're just gonna get more comfortable. And whether it's late in the game or it's late in the game and high pressure moment in the postseason in the Super Bowl, you're just going to get even better at it as time goes on.
And you don't
moments all the time.
And we got to remember these guys, like, they're human beings. You watch the beginning of that game, and I know you know what I'm talking about. First of all, they showed a couple shots of Josh Allen like sitting on the bench in the pregame, and I was like, he looks a little like, I don't know. I was trying not to do a psychoanalysis, but I was like, he looks a little off.
No, do it. Do a psychoanalysis, please.
But this is the truth. The Bills get out there for the first drive in Arrowhead. This team has been demoralizing. The Chiefs have been demoralizing to the Bills. They've crushed their dreams year after year. They walk into Arrowhead for an AFC Championship game. The first drive, Josh Allen almost throws 2 interceptions and is wildly inaccurate. You don't think that's nerves?
That was 100%.
Nerves. These guys are human beings.
That looked like Josh Allen from like 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, that was that was my first thought process right there. I'm like, oh, this is not going to be good for the Bills. This is going to be this is going to be a long day for the Bills. He obviously settles in, but 100% agree there. I think there was just so much pressure too on Allen and the Bills, right? They had to win this game. It's been their season. It's been how many times now they've ended your season in this building. It just kind of felt like they had to win it. And when you have that much pressure on you, it completely adds to it. Now, let's talk about him for a second. I got to say this. In my 24 years on this earth and however long I've been watching sports, okay, I've never felt more bad for an athlete losing a football game. Even though he's got $200 million in the bank and a smoking hot superstar girlfriend, okay, I've never felt worse for a player in my life because you could just, if you saw him after that game, just completely defeated. Just defeated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure even Bills fans would tell you that's not even the most bad they've felt for a quarterback of their own team before. I'm sure.
Yeah.
The people who watched Jim Kelly in the 80s lose 4 Super Bowls in a row probably feel a little different.
Yeah.
But I mean, off the top of my head, I'm not sure if I could think of somebody that's maybe gone through more of the same. I mean, off the top of my head, the guys like Phillip Rivers that were never able to get there in the AFC and play, Pro Bowl level football for so long. But Rivers even had a couple runs where he was knocking on the door of a Super Bowl, played New England maybe once or twice, but never 4 times in 4 times in the last 5 years.
Or to get there every year and lose to the same team. Like, let me ask you this, as a fan that hasn't seen the postseason since you hit puberty or before you hit puberty, okay?
Yes.
Would you rather have what the Bills have or what you have?
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt, what the Bills have. And that comes from a perspective. You got to understand, I see both sides of the ball here because as a diehard Yankees fan, I'm 23. When the Yankees were in the World Series, I was 8 years old, and I was not a baseball fan yet. Baseball took me a couple more years to come around on than football did. Football, it was right around that time I started watching it. But in terms of sitting down for Yankee games, I'd say 2012, 2013 was when I really started watching the Yankees. So my life has just been watching the Yankees come up short. I mean, year after year in the postseason. And I would way rather watch the Yankees than I watch the Jets.
But it's different because the Yankees are this, like, obviously they're one of the biggest, if not the biggest sports franchise in the world, right? Like, this is a loser franchise that has had nothing but heartbreak in the past. Okay. And now it's nothing but constant heartbreak. I understand they have great seasons, but like to go out like this every single year.
Good.
I mean, there are some Bills fans that are like, first of all, questioning life from what I've heard over
Right.
the past few weeks,
That I
over the
think they're
past few days.
exaggerating a little bit. If they are, I think they got to look at some other parts of our life, maybe not just the Bills.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's a good point to bring up that the Yankees are a prestigious franchise with 27 championships and all that stuff. The Bills haven't done anything. That being said, ask a Bills fan that question, and I guarantee you they'll tell you they would rather, because they went through it. The Bills for years were the same thing like the Jets were. They had, they couldn't find a quarterback for like 30 freaking years. And they were bottom of the barrel basically year after year, fighting out third or fourth place in the AFC East.
I bet you ask a few of them Monday morning that they would probably say I'd rather just be 7-10 and miss the playoffs. I think you could find like 20% of them. Like if we polled Buffalo, I think you're getting at least 25% of the people saying I'd rather just be 8-9 and
well,
lose.
they're full of it. They're full of it because I guarantee you,
that's tough.
Dude, this is a conversation I've heard from sports fans for a long time.
No, it's a good conversation.
Anyone that sits there and says they would rather be an irrelevant team and not make the postseason and just suck than go to the postseason and come up short year after year, they are full of it. And I honestly don't think they're a true fan.
But there's something to coming up short every year, and then there's something to coming up short the way the Bills have every single year. Like this is a different level.
You gotta
coming up short.
You gotta understand, like I'm gonna keep using the Jets because I have the perspective of that. Like the Jets this offseason, they didn't even win anything yet. When I was seeing predictions for the Jets to make the playoffs, I couldn't watch enough of those YouTube videos. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. Even just thinking about us being in the playoffs right now makes me so happy. Same thing with I'm dealing with St. John's right now. We've been miserable for a long time. And when I was at the school, we were not good either. Now, every week, I'm like, when's the AP poll coming out? Oh, my God. Like, I'm not even trying to think about if we win a game in March. I'm just happy that we're relevant right now. Relevancy, as pathetic as it is, to just want to reach that level, it means a lot when you're below that relevancy level and you're just stuck in poverty. You want to get the hell out of there. So I don't want to hear people that think they would rather stay in freaking poverty than losing the playoffs year after year.
Listen, I've always been on the side of, I want my team to win, even if it's in the regular season. I want to see the success. I get it. And then even if it comes with heartbreak, but again, I think this is a different level. I tend to agree with you, but the Bills have me thinking about the other side a little bit more.
So I think, this is about as bad as it gets when it comes to losing over and over again, because it's the same team and the history of them with the 4 Super Bowls in a row and they've never won a Super Bowl and all that. The thing that would just get to me if I was a Bills fan is usually when you lose in the playoffs, like obviously you're sad, but then you start looking forward. You're like, all right, well, how can we come back next year and we'll be better? They keep coming back and you keep dealing with the same crap. And it's like, I don't know where else the Bills are supposed to go, because we kind of had a different version of the Bills than we have in years past. You had a little bit more of a run game with the running backs this year. You had no Stephon Diggs, a little bit more of an even receiving core and ball distribution. And you had a career year out of Josh Allen, and you still came up short. So if I'm thinking, like, what else can we do? Where do we go from here?
You know what's funny? I actually think that both of these teams, the Chiefs and the Bills, are going to be better next season. Like, I think the Bills are going to add some receivers. I think the Chiefs, they're going to add Rice back from injury and a little bit more, right? I'm sure they have a little bit more space next year. Like, I kind of feel like both of these teams were, and this is almost bad for the Ravens or the Bengals. Like, this is going to be the worst they've been roster-wise in like 2 to 3 years, both of these teams. I think they're going to be better next year. Both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bills, they don't really need to touch that offense, honestly.
They need a number one. They need a receiver. I like Shakir.
Right. But like, I don't necessarily know if they need one. I mean, they might just need like better, a better starter, but I don't know if the the number one receiver type is
All
what
right.
would work for this
Yeah,
offense.
like they don't have to go trade for Devontae Adams or sign T. Higgins, but
Right.
they need somebody that is a step above
Right.
what
Swap
they
out,
have.
sure. Swap out Mac Hollins, put somebody a little better in there.
No, Matt Collins. I want Matt Collins in the lineup.
So you want Mac Hollins, you want Khalil Shakir. So then is Coleman the
Cooper's
odd man
out.
out?
Well,
But is Coleman going to? You
Cooper's
want
going to
Coleman
be
just
out.
being a bench guy? You got Curtis Samuel there too. They got a lot of guys.
Well, Samuel's gone. Cooper's gone. Keon Coleman will be there.
Yeah.
Go get somebody. Not
You know what
big.
they need? They need to freaking figure out, maybe put Dawson Knox back in there, man, because Dalton Kincaid was one of the bigger disappointments in 2024. And he obviously had that drop late in the game that could have saved their season.
Yep.
It wasn't the easiest catch in the world, but I mean, you're a professional tight end to hit you in the arm. So
hit you in the hands.
Yep. Should have caught that ball. And Kincaid, I mean, fantasy football players out there know what I'm talking about. He was supposed to be like the next big thing and the big quarterback tight end connection, just like Mahomes and Kelsey have. Didn't happen.
No, he was a big disappointment. Cook's been great. They got to improve the offensive line a little bit. It wasn't bad, but it's not good enough.
That's the concern I have about Kansas City going next year is the offensive line. Trey Smith's supposed to be a free agent, but teams like those, I mean, they always just seem to plug and play.
They found Trey Smith day 3. They'll find another guy day 3.
Yeah, exactly.
How about Joe Thuney? Joe Thuney?
Mm-hmm.
Left guard, paid a bunch of money, be a left guard. See his performance at left tackle the other day?
Pretty good.
He was like one of the highest graded players of the week at left tackle.
All pro for a reason.
All pro.
Somebody commented that. I don't know if you saw that. I think it was on Instagram. When we posted the thing about the most impactful free agent signing, somebody made an argument that Joe Thuney is the most impactful free agent signing. Because
that is a great call.
It's a good call, but it was a bit of a reach for that to be like the best ever because he was saying the reasoning was like he was great in New England, won the Super Bowls, and then he came to Kansas City and he was great again and won Super Bowls.
Well, remember,
I don't think Joe Thuney's like the rock that you need to win a Super Bowl, but he's a very, very good player.
That was off the heels of that terrible Super Bowl against the Bucs, where they had no offensive line and they lost. He was hit how many times?
Yeah,
and they got crushed
like upside down, basically.
Right. That's a good point though, because of what happened the year prior, and now since they've acquired him, they've won 2 straight.
Well, yeah, I mean they also got Creed Humphrey has a lot to do with it as well, and they had a couple free agent signings there.
I don't know. This guy,
he's a great player. I'm not trying to knock it, but I mean,
I gotta go up. I gotta go up and
swipe.
Signing, I don't know. I got to go up and swipe on this guy. I got to be like, listen, that's a good point, brother.
Good point.
Good job. JM, this guy, he's Peyton Manning here. This is our modern day Peyton Manning. Fantastic in the regular season, ultra talented, but he can't win in the postseason. And Peyton was not a good player in the postseason. Wasn't he couldn't win. Peyton had bad early on postseason stats. Allen has good postseason stats, just can't win.
So, if Allen's Peyton Manning and Mahomes is Brady,
yep.
Do we think Burrow is Flacco? Is Burrow Roethlisberger?
I think he's Big Ben.
Okay, and then Lamar is Phillip Rivers, or who's Lamar?
I don't know who Lamar is. Somebody had said to me,
that job, he's filling around.
Somebody said to me that Lamar should be Peyton and Allen should be Big Ben, but I don't. I think I like the opposite.
I actually don't hate. Yeah, I actually agree with that person because if we're talking regular season numbers. If we're talking regular season numbers, Lamar's regular season numbers are better than Allen's.
Right, and he has the MVPs.
With Peyton Manning. Yeah, Peyton Manning won like 3 MVPs in a row before he went to the Super Bowl or something like that.
That's a good maybe it is. I don't know. I feel like Allen's the second best quarterback though. And like Peyton was second best.
I mean, Peyton was, he had 40 touchdowns, 25 picks in his postseason career, a passer rating of 87, and a record of 14-13. And that record of 14-13 also includes the last year of his career where he went 3-0, getting backpacked by a defense. I mean, he was pretty washed up by that point.
Yeah. What was I going to say? If you put Peyton and Eli together, postseason Eli, regular season Peyton, you have the best player of all time.
Yeah, you probably do.
You probably have the greatest quarterback of
No,
all
actually,
time.
you don't. I mean, I think Tom Brady and Mahomes would still take the cake there, but they'd be right there.
They'd be 3, which is probably where
Sure.
Peyton is already right now.
Does that give you some sort of satisfaction? Like Eli Manning's resume gets better somehow by taking his brother's regular season numbers?
Are we going to debate Eli at all? Hall of Fame? I know we're going to find that out soon.
Absolutely.
We're going to find that out next week, I think.
I'll come with a freaking binder of information if you want me to. We could sit for 3 hours and talk about that.
I don't need a binder. You know what I need?
Say it. Say the stupid corny. Yep, there you go.
I need a ring or 2. Yeah, that's what I need. That's what I need right there. Yeah, we can debate that soon. I think we find that out the Saturday before the Super Bowl or something like that. So we'll be able to do a little bit of that next week. The Hall of Fame. We'll see who's getting in. Jim, I got nothing more here. The Bills. It's a tough one. We'll move on quickly to the NFC Championship game, which to me was boring for about a half here. A little bit longer. The first drive, I'm sitting there thinking, this kid Daniels is the best thing we've seen in a very long time. And he's a problem, and they're going to have a chance to win this game. And then after that first drive, I was like, okay, the Eagles got this.
Yeah. Was that not like the college football championship game all over again? First drive, Riley Leonard and the Fighting Irish go down the field, freaking like 18-play drive. Just absolutely going for it on 4th down, just chipping away. They scored a touchdown. Commanders do the same thing. They didn't end up getting a touchdown. They ended up kicking the field goal. But, I mean, It was, a 17-play drive or something like that? And they converted 2 or 3 4th downs, two fourth downs. I thought they were going to go for that third one, but they elected to kick the field goal. But, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Daniel's still, I mean, I don't have any doubt about him and the way he played and looking forward to next year. That guy's a baller. And that team is going to start loading up on some assets, and they'll be a problem for years to come. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles, they just outmatched them. The exactly what we thought was going to happen happened. No matter what you tried to do to stop Saquon Barkley, he couldn't be stopped. And the Eagles roster, it was just overpowering. It really is.
It's completely overmatched. They really didn't I didn't think they had a chance going in, and that was clear. I want to say this about Hurts. It's going to sound like just a complete cliche, and I don't want to defend him because there are times where he does not look like a top 10 NFL quarterback. You see him on Sunday, and he's easily a top 10 NFL quarterback. He plays great in the game, but then you have other instances where he's not. But the one thing that he is he's a winner, and he doesn't care at times how it looks. As long as they're winning football games, then he's happy, and that's enough for him. And I have to respect that a little bit. All the guy cares about is winning, and all he does is win.
Yeah. And he does. He's very poised. He is a guy that you think, we forget Jalen Hurts 2 years ago when the Eagles and the Chiefs played in the Super Bowl for the first time. He played a really, really good game. And I mean, he was an MVP candidate that year. He was playing really good football. Take the tush-push stats out of it in 2022, 2023. He still had a really good year taking care of the ball. And he's been doing it again this postseason. He hasn't been turning it over. That's really what lost Washington the game. They really didn't play that bad, especially on the offensive end. But it was the fumbles. I mean, they had 3 or something fumbles. One of them, at least, which was on special teams, De'Ami Brown getting the ball punched out on a screen pass, just like things that shouldn't be happening. And they were sloppy with the football. And as we know in the NFL and in football in general, when you lose the turnover battle, most of the time you're going to lose the game. So the Eagles, they know when to step up and they know when to make big plays.
Yeah, they were sloppy in the game, 100%. Where do I want to go here?
That's not so that again, we're going to talk about it next week.
Yeah.
That's not what's going to happen though with the Chiefs. You're not going to be able to force 3 or 4 turnovers against Kansas City. They're too experienced. They're too good. They're not going to give up the ball to you that many times. So the Eagles, they won the game by 30 freaking points. It's not like they just skated by. They played a really, really good football game. Finally, right? First 2 games, we weren't getting out of the Eagles what we wanted to get out of the Eagles. We're like, they can't get it going. Like they're not dominating and they're not firing on all cylinders. Finally, they did last week. They got to do it again.
You know, when Barkley has these games, people will ask me. I've had like 4 people ask me, "What do you do when Barkley breaks off a big run?" And I was like, I laugh. I just have to laugh at it at this point because we know he wouldn't have done this with the Giants, right? That's the first thing, but it's also he's that good. I mean, he's that good at football. And when at least for me, when I see somebody having this kind of success and it being this dominant, it's just funny. It's really just almost funny. Like that's the first reaction I have because it's almost not, you can't believe it. Like when he breaks off that run on the first offensive play for them, I was literally like, what the F?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. It's honestly, it's refreshing because you get to see, oh, this is what happens when you put a really good player around other really good players and they can because to me with Barkley, like it's not a linear chart, right? It's not, okay, you're playing at this level with the Giants because they have a crappy offensive line. You go up to Philadelphia, who's got a better offensive line. You're going to play now this good. You're going to be a little bit better. Like, you're not going to be great with a bad offensive line. But if you go to a good team with a good offensive line and you get in space, you're going to be like a completely different player. You'll be your full potential. And, I mean, that's what he is. He's so quick. His contact balance is insane. He can break tackles. He can spin move. He can do everything. And he really is one of the most talented running backs who's ever played the sport.
If he wins the Super Bowl MVP, the Eagles win the Super Bowl and he's the MVP, is that the greatest season ever for a running back? And I think he needs like 40 yards or something to be the highest rusher ever, postseason and regular season included. Would that to you be the greatest? Because the only other one is Terrell Davis when he had, which I think he has the record for most yards in a season, including post. And he had like 20 touchdowns.
99, something
like that.
He
won the MVP. And he didn't win Super Bowl MVP, but he had a good game. But he won the MVP that year. And the next year, he had a really good year. And he didn't win MVP, but he won Super Bowl MVP. But it was a worse regular season.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so Terrell Davis. So which year do we want to use?
I would say the year he won the regular season MVP would be the best season ever.
1998, Terrell Davis, first team All-Pro, MVP, 2,008 yards, 21 touchdowns in 16 games. So more yards than Barkley because per game.
Yeah.
And then playoffs, they played 3 games in the playoffs. 468 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, 97, he had 8 touchdowns in the postseason in 4 games with 581 rushing yards. That's a Super Bowl MVP and a first-team All-Pro. I'm going to say because, unfortunately for Davis, he kind of had 1 year with the regular season better and another year with the postseason better. Barkley, 2,000 yards and those stats in the postseason and a Super Bowl MVP, yeah, that's the greatest season out of a running back. Obviously, regular season-wise, you've got OJ, 2,000 yards in 14 games is nuts. Yeah. Eric Dickerson, the all-time record. Adrian Peterson. LaDainian Tomlinson scoring like 30 freaking total touchdowns in a year. Crazy stuff. But accolades and all that stuff, yeah, Saquon, I think, takes the cake.
Yeah, we'll see if he's able to win that Super Bowl MVP. That would be fun. We mentioned Hurts. Again, I trust. Now let's go back to him. The level of trust you have in him. Are you good now? You're like, if you were betting on them or if you wanted them to win, you see that game on Sunday and you're like, all right, I think he's back. He's back from the injury, not playing. He's not rusty anymore. Would you be confident in saying, oh, I'm going to get Jalen Hurts. I'm going to get something close to maybe the last Super Bowl he played in, which was a great performance. Would you feel good in that?
I mean, maybe I'd feel good that he's getting close to his personal peak form, but would I feel confident in him to play really well against the Kansas City Chiefs? No. I mean, he hasn't looked like that version of himself from 2022 since 2022. I mean, even if he got back, if let's say he's at full health and all that stuff, I'm not going to take a sample size of playing the Washington Commanders at home. It's an underexperienced team with a defense that we know isn't that great. That's a completely different animal compared to the Kansas City Chiefs. So would I say, oh, hey, Jalen Hurts, like he can make some plays on Sunday? Yeah. But would I say, oh, if it's coming down to Hurts versus Mahomes in the fourth quarter, who am I going to want? Obviously, I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes.
It's Patrick Mahomes. I just saw you go.
Sorry. You know what I really want, though? And, I'm going to be rooting for the Eagles just because, and as an AFC fan and somebody who got tormented by the Brady dynasties for years, I'm rooting again. I'm anti-dynasty, so I'm going to be rooting for Philly. I want to see that the running back that got that contract and had a really good season, right? That's viewed as the best running back in the league. I want to see that guy win a ring. And finally, we don't have to look at that chart that I talk about all the time because right now it's relevant. But I want that chart to be completely debunked of running backs and their impact on your team's salary cap and all that stuff.
That's this is the biggest game ever for the running back narrative right here.
Yeah.
Because if he loses, it's
right
not gonna look good. It's not gonna look good.
Right,
I'll be posting it.
I thought, you will be posting it. I thought last year maybe it was the shot with McCaffrey, but it wasn't. But now we got another chance here. I was hoping it was going to be Eagles-Ravens because at that point you're like, all right, well, it's going to happen anyway. So hell yeah, but it's not.
No, you can't. You can't get there with the running back leading you. Therefore, the Patrick Mahomes led Chiefs are going to win. That's it.
Yeah.
That's done.
Wrap it up.
Done.
Wrap it up.
The chart, the list, running backs still don't matter. We're done. We're good. Jam, I'm gonna flip it on our list. We'll save the fun Super Bowl for the last thing. We're gonna go into just we're already into it. A slight preview of the game. What are you looking forward to the most? But I do want to do our list here. We're gonna do a quick top 5 where this game ranks in terms of the last 10 Super Bowl matchups. So Jam, I'll let you kick us off here. In terms of anticipation before the game, how good we think the game was going to be the last 10 years. Does this game make your list, and where is it?
This game does make my list, and it makes it at 5. So I was actually contemplating whether to put this game or Chiefs-Eagles from 2 years ago on this list, which one was better between those. And I decided on this one because now you incorporate the Saquon aspect into it. But, sometimes people forget, like, that 2022 Eagles team was the team to beat. Like, they were really, really freaking good. They were like the Lions of this year. That's what the Eagles were in 2022. But I ended up going with this team because of Saquon. So that's what I got. I got Chiefs-Eagles this year as my number 5 most intriguing matchup. My number 4, this is a bit of a surprise maybe. I have the Broncos and the Panthers from 2015 because – to me, storylines, matchups, all that stuff, the Panthers we were having 16-0 conversations there at the time. There were only 16 games in the year. We were having 16-0 conversations about the Panthers that year. They were amazing. Cam Newton was having a bit of like a Steph Curry effect where he was bringing a new mobile quarterback scoring 15 rushing touchdowns sort of aspect to the game and doing it at a high level and MVP level. We remember the Panthers, Cam Newton was doing the dab and the super cam and Josh Norman was nuts. And that was a crazy good Panthers team. And then the other side, the Broncos with Peyton Manning, who seem to be having like, oh, this is it for Peyton. He's retiring. He's washed up. They beat New England, who is New England, in the AFC Championship game, and they go play the Panthers in Super Bowl 50. Von Miller wins the Super Bowl MVP. That defense is like one of the best ever. That Broncos defense, it was freaking nuts, and they win the Super Bowl. So that's my number 4. My number 3, I have last year's Chiefs 49ers rematch, kind of similar to this year's Super Bowl matchups, powerhouses, familiar matchup. That's my number 3. Number 2, Patriots Seahawks 2014, 2015. That was the year after the Patriots shellacked the Denver Broncos. The Seattle Seahawks shellacked the Denver Broncos at MetLife Stadium, 43-8 in like the worst freaking Super Bowl ever, of course, because it was at MetLife. I don't know who approved on that.
Yeah.
That Seahawks team was looking like the next dynasty. And then New England, obviously, we're talking about going into the game. We know how that game ended up playing out. That's one of the best Super Bowl games ever.
Yeah.
Or the worst, depending on who you were rooting for. And then my number 1 is kind of an easy choice, I personally think. Chiefs Buccaneers from 2020. It's like, MJ plays LeBron, out with the old, in with the new, but Unc still proved that he's still the man. Tom Brady beats Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. That was a crazy matchup going in. Brady's first year in Tampa, Mahomes rising onto the scene. That's my number 1.
There was a lot in that Broncos Panthers. That's a good pull. I agree with you there. I didn't have it. That's a good pull. And the Hawks and the Patriots, it's on mine too. It's a good one. So there you go. All right, I'll start here. Number 5. I think you're going to disagree with me. I got Patriots Eagles. There was a lot. That Eagles team was loaded. They went right through the NFC, and Foles was playing well. I mean, obviously they beat the crap out of the Vikings. So going into it, it was a rematch. The Patriots had beat them, 10, 12 years prior. And again, you had a loaded roster on the Eagles side, and obviously we knew what the Patriots were. So that was a big one, and I was very excited and intrigued for that, and it ended up being a good game as well. So that's 5 for me. Number 4, I have Patriots Seahawks. Again, you mentioned it. Looks like we're about to see another dynasty with the Seahawks. That team was going to be so good, and they were so good, and they had this game, but they didn't. And obviously the Patriots, that's their first one in a very long time. Prior, the Patriots had gotten there. They had lost beforehand. There's some pressure mounting on them after winning 3. They had 2 dynasties there. They had won 3, break, then won another 3, and this was the first of them. So that one's 4 for me. Number 3 is this Super Bowl. This one, you have a rematch. You have a loaded roster on the Eagles side. We know about how good they are. And then obviously this Chiefs team going for a 3-peat, trying to basically, continue and start this great dynasty and be the greatest dynasty of all time. It's a rematch. I think this is 3, and it's a good matchup. I know people are upset about it because nobody likes Philadelphia. Nobody wants the Chiefs. But if you look at this from a football standpoint, this is a very, very good game. So I think it's 3 for me. It's a close 3. I think these two are really close. You mentioned it before, the Niners and the Chiefs. That had everything. You had Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, the Chiefs going for 2 straight, obviously kind of the same narratives from this Super Bowl into that one. And the Niners were absolutely loaded, and Shanahan has struggled in these spots. Let's see if he could get one. He obviously doesn't. And number 1 for the obvious reasons of Bucks Chiefs. The GOATs basically going at it. And that's going to be the only time they play in a Super Bowl. And that'll be used in debate whether or not who's the greatest of all time. Is Mahomes better than Brady? And a lot of people are going to say, well, Brady beat him head to head when he was in his 40s. So that'll be one that is used. And I don't know how much it matters, but
right. And that'll be like a whole wow. I didn't even realize that for a lot of people that they even played in the Super Bowl, because when Mahomes' career is over in 10 years from now or 12 years from now, whatever it's going to be, you're going to be like, holy crap, it felt like Tom Brady last played football 50 years ago. It's weird that their careers overlapped like that, and they did in a big way, obviously, multiple times. I mean, Brady, when they went to play Philadelphia or when they went to play the Rams, whichever one, I think the Rams.
Yep, the Rams.
They beat Mahomes in Kansas City.
So he has those 2 head-to-head matchups against him in the postseason and beat him. AFC Championship game, and then the next 2 years or the next year beats him in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
2 years after. So there you go. Similar lists, a couple of different games on there, but similar. And obviously the same number 1. So next week, I mean, really just an in-depth preview of this. I mean, we really didn't want to spoil anything here. It's kind of why we're online too this week. Don't want to spoil it too much. We're going to really give you a great breakdown next week and looking forward to it. For now, JM, let's have a little fun with these crazy Super Bowl bets. This has been a tradition for me since it was illegal for me to gamble. I love this stuff. And including my favorite, we're going to go over the craziest bets we've seen. We kind of did this last year. We're going to go at it again. Jay, my personal favorite, I probably said it last year, I'll say it again. The national anthem's a great way to get things started.
Yeah.
It's a great tone setter. It's like, are you going to have a good night? You're going to have a good night here, and that's what does it.
Yeah. No, the national anthem is always great. The every year we get the person, outside the stadium, they recorded the rehearsal and timed it, and people making bets off of that, and it always seems to be wrong. They always flip it the other way. Maybe it's on purpose, maybe it's not. Who the hell knows? That's a really good one. Do we know who's doing it this year?
It's a good question. I should look that up. That's like pre-game research. You know what I mean?
We got Chris Stapleton the first time in one of the greatest national anthems of all time. We got him in Chiefs Eagles the first time, so hopefully it's as close as we could get to that.
That's who it was?
Yeah, that's who it was in 2022 or 2023.
John Batesty? Louisiana native, multiple Grammy Award-winning John Batiste? Batiste.
John Batiste?
Yeah, that's what it is. Batiste, yep.
John Batiste. Very nice. Don't know him. All right.
Neither do I.
My weird bet is how many hot dogs are going to be eaten at the Super Bowl. So I tried to break this down, okay? So the Caesars Superdome, which, by the way, I looked up Mercedes-Benz Superdome because I didn't realize they changed the name.
Yeah.
That's what I know it as. But the Caesars Superdome has a maximum capacity of 76,468 people. Okay. So then I was like, all right, I'm going to say at least a hot dog a person. And then I was like, wait a minute. That sounds kind of insane. And then I started breaking it down like, chicken fingers are in now, the pretzels, the burgers, whatever. And then I remembered this is the Super Bowl. Like, this isn't just Joe Schmo and people walking in and frat kids walking in and getting beer and a hot dog. Like, these people got money to get into this game. So maybe more money, a little more health conscious, a little more stuck up. They're not going for a hot dog. So then I dropped my number down. So then I did all right, maybe 60% of the people are going to get a hot dog. And that was 50,000. And I'm like, even that sounds 50,000 hot dogs sounds nuts. So I came up, this number feels right.
Okay.
I'm going with 17,588 hot dogs. That's 30 or that's 23% of the maximum capacity. I think 1 in every 5 people is going to get a hot dog. Maybe you'll get people that get 2. Maybe you'll get more people that get 0. I think it will even out to about 1 in 5 people get a hot dog.
So it's interesting because when you first think about it, I'm with you. I'm like, all right, you're going to have whatever the number is. You're going to say a little less than the max capacity, but you're right. how many people actually get hot dogs at football games? Like, it's a big baseball thing. Like, you get a hot
It
dog at a
is.
baseball game. It's not necessarily at a football game. I almost got one at MSG last night, which is really funny. Our friend got one. Luke got one. I ended up not, but it's really interesting.
Of course,
I think your number. Wow, I think your number is on point, mate. Like 20,000 people.
Yeah,
Out of the 76,000. Let me ask you something. You're in the clubs. You're in the suites. Do those count? Do those count as the hot dogs going out?
All right, maybe, but
Is it hot dogs consumed?
You have a lot of people in suites. I don't think people in suites are having hot dogs.
So Taylor
They're
Swift's
having
not
sushi.
sticking
They're
a
having
glizzy down.
Oh God, no, she's not. I mean,
Come on.
I'm not gonna go down that road. I don't need the Swifties coming after me. I was gonna make a joke. I'm not doing it. They're having prime rib. They're having sushi. They're having all that stuff, Mike. But I was thinking about this too. Me personally, this is gonna get clipped up. Whatever. Me personally, big sausage guy, right? Love sausage. Okay. Take with that what you will. Make your jokes. Does a Polish sausage or a sausage and peppers, whatever, does that count as a hot dog?
No.
Different. So, all right, so good. So I'm comfortable about my number. If it did, maybe I'd throw 25, 30,000 out at you.
Okay.
I don't know what these Louisiana people like.
The coin toss is the instant gratification or disappointment that, it's obviously it's a big one, but that's another tone setter. You know which bet I hate? You know what I absolutely hate? The Gatorade color. Yep. I hate the Gatorade color.
Hate it. Absolutely hate it.
I have no interest in betting on that. I have no interest in that sham of what they could control that easily. You could easily control what color Gatorade's in there.
And this has happened a couple times. Usually they miss it with the camera. You got to find out afterwards what color the Gatorade was.
It's not even fun. Who cares about that?
No,
that's one I dislike.
Yep. You know what? The coin toss, that's just for the love of the game. That's just somebody that they want to gamble to gamble.
Yeah, they're
not afraid to admit that they might be a little bit of, and we're all a little bit of degenerates out there that are betting on football. We're not afraid to admit, you know what? I'm just going to bet on a coin toss. There's no research necessary. I just want to put my money on 50-50 odds here.
Apparently, the odds right now are good that Kendrick Lamar will mention Drake. I know he's going to have the diss track. He's going to play one of his diss tracks, I guess, of Drake. I'm not really up in this business here, but it's plus 300. Yes, he mentions Drake.
I used to be a big Kendrick fan. Saw him in concert. Drake's always been my guy, and then there's J. Cole, and then Kendrick's a third.
Right.
And his old stuff is really good. This new thing he's got now, this new flow he's got, and the beef, and I'm done with that guy.
So you're not excited about Kendrick doing the halftime?
No, I'm not. If he does some of his old stuff, if he throws out some Money Trees and some Good Kid Met, some stuff from Good Kid, Mad City, I'll be all about it. But
okay,
if he's doing the new stuff,
you're out. You're out. We're about to do a really funny list, and I think we could go there if you're good here, unless you have more bets.
Yeah, no, I'm all good. I'm excited about this list, actually.
This list is great. Thought of on the spot by me, of course. Genius.
Genius behind the show, yes.
So this is top 5 worst things about the Super Bowl. Because as we know, we're a football podcast, and the Super Bowl is not for football fans. It's just not. It's the complete opposite of what you want. The last real weekend of football was the championship weekend. This sucks for football fans. And we're going to give you the top 5 reasons why it sucks. Okay? I'll let you start off again, JM. You go. You give us the top 5 reasons why this thing stinks.
Okay. This one is very different than the other 4 ones. It doesn't actually necessarily have to do with the day of the Super Bowl. It's the day after the Super Bowl. That is my number 5. The day after the Super Bowl, not being a federal holiday, having to walk into work after watching. By the way, the Super Bowl goes late. Okay? You go to work, you go to school the day after, you just ate like a freaking slob. Your stomach's killing you. You got to take a big poop. and you freaking whatever. Like, you got all these, you're still stuck in weekend mode. You go to bed, the Super Bowl just ended, you wake up, boom, back to your normal life. So the day after the Super Bowl for me, it sucks. Should be a holiday. They should put President's Day right there or something. That's my number 5.
All right. Keep going.
Oh, I'm going the whole way? Okay, Mike.
Yeah.
My number 4. This could get a little bit of hate for this, and a lot of people like it. I'm going with the commercials. I just think, for some reason, year after year, I feel like I get disappointed even more. Mm-hmm. They're less funny. They're less creative. There's always something weird out there now. I don't know. I'm just, and who wants
not
to
a commercial
at the end of the day? Like, I go on my phone like everybody else does on commercial breaks anyways. Number 3, football in general becoming like a pop culture event, right? Like, this isn't, the commercials, the halftime show, the celebrities, the whatever, like it becoming sort of like you're watching the Grammys or like you're watching some special spectacle or whatever. No, this is a football game. Like, this isn't supposed to be some Hollywood event, whatever. And it kind of gets like put in that way. I can't find the right word for it, but that's my number 3. Okay. My number 2, kind of feeding off the last one, the halftime show.
Yep.
I don't know. Like, I know a lot of people, especially I know a lot of women, look forward to it because they don't like football, and that's something they like is music. Totally get that. I don't like it. I just think it gets way too. You can't even hear the artists because they're doing so many freaking dance moves and wearing weird outfits and this and that, and it's way too long. Like, I'm thinking about the game. I'm like, oh, okay, second half now, whatever. I got to wait double the amount of time. It's not a regular halftime. It is so freaking long. Everybody always hates it initially right afterwards. They say that was disappointing. This person did better, and they say that year after year. So the halftime show pisses me off. And number 1, this is like, oh, my God.
I feel like we're about to have the same exact list.
This should be in its own category. Okay, this is by far the worst one. Watching the Super Bowl with people who don't watch football is by far the worst thing ever. I'm not here to teach you about football. Like, I'll answer quick little questions. Oh yeah, this is him. He plays for this team. He's the quarterback. Okay. I don't need to. Oh, what does that flag mean? Oh, okay. Well, how come they scored that many points? Or why are the change? What's that line on the field mean? Like, that just sucks all the joy out of it for me. So honestly, if I could watch the Super Bowl, I'd lock myself in a room, shut the lights off, not watch the commercials, and not watch a halftime show, and I'd be happy.
Lights off, nobody in the house. You going in the nude there?
This is a Michael K thing. I know he likes to do that.
I know, yeah, nude.
I never really had a desire to watch sports in the nude, but I would.
If you were alone, you'd watch.
If I was alone, sure, why not? I'll wear whatever the hell.
All right. Well, we have the same list basically, Mike. I mean, it's brutal. I should have gone first.
That's why I thought we were going to go back and forth, because I thought we were going to have a lot of similarities.
I have a couple of differences here. So I'll start, and I didn't write down 5, and I had 5, and I forgot it. So we're going to skip 5. 4 is like just that it's a social event. You know what I mean? Like, it's a party. It's a social event. It's annoying. If I'm watching football with you, regularly throughout a Sunday, then I'm good. Then, it's not a social event for me, even if it's like a party. But I'm with the same people I'm watching most weeks with. It's fine. But if you're going to a party with people you don't really hang out with a lot, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Number 3, this one could be higher. The fans in the stands. Because you don't have real fans in the stands because of the prices. You have these bougie people that probably don't care about football, these rich losers that are just there to say they're at the Super Bowl. Okay? No. I want the diehard fan in the building. The crowd isn't good. It's a bad crowd at the Super Bowl. That's one of the worst things. It's not like the AFC or NFC Championship game where you got these fans going absolutely wild. Die-hard fans. It's not the same. So that's 3. The halftime show is way too long. That is 2. It's brutal. The halftime show stinks. You're right. I never even realized this. Everybody complains about the halftime show. The only halftime show that was worth watching was J-Lo and Shakira. That's about it. Okay, that's about it.
Hot take.
That's it. Nothing else is
Mars
worth
is pretty good, but hot take.
I will not watch the halftime. I will make a declaration. And if we're together on Super Bowl Sunday, you better hold me to this. I will not watch it. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say it.
No, say it. Say it. No, go ahead. Say it.
I will not watch a single halftime show ever again. No, I'm not going to hold myself to that. I'm not going to be that aggressive. But I don't care. And you're right. Like, I'll be on my phone. You know, like, I'll be on my phone, like, checking things. Who am I going to bet? Am I going to place a live bet here? You know what I mean? Right. That's what I'll be doing during the halftime show. I don't care. Right. I don't care. Right. Especially, I don't care about Kendrick Lamar this year. I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay. And number 1, obviously, watching with people that don't watch football. It's talking sports with people that don't really know sports but want to have the conversation with you because they know you like sports or you have a podcast. It's the worst kind of chop in the world. It's the worst thing on planet Earth.
I'm glad you brought that up, too. I think we should start a movement, worldwide movement, okay? People out there, you know when you meet somebody in a casual situation and you don't know them that well and you start talking sports, right?
Yeah.
And you know how like you talk in that like friendly tone and they'll say something and you'll be like, wow, that's just completely inaccurate.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, okay, I see what you're talking about. Like, what if we just stopped doing that? I did this one time. I think I told you about this. I met these guys at a bar, real quick conversation, and Soto had just signed with the Mets. And they were saying some crazy stuff about the Mets. And usually I would have just been like, yeah, like, I don't know about that. But I was like, yo, that's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, I literally said to them, let's start doing that. Let's start, like, being aggressive, being like, that's an awful take. No, that's not true. Yeah, like, let's do that. Like, maybe people that, you know, talk about, like, LeBron, and they're like, you know, he doesn't have the clutch gene. Just be like, you're an idiot. Like, you know, he has the most clutch game-winning shots of all time. Like, just start holding people accountable because it'll make them a better sports fan. It'll make them more knowledgeable.
Especially lately, I've been extra cold to people that don't know sports and they try and talk to me. I'm like, I literally just yes them to death. And like, you could tell in my eyes, I'm not interested. Like, yeah, I don't know. You know, I haven't really looked at that. I'll give you that answer. Like, I can't stand it. It's the worst.
Spend a night at our local bar. You'll be able to have a lot of those conversations.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying,
practice. You could practice.
I'm not saying anything. I plead the fifth there.
The only one I'll accept it is if it's like a partner and it's their dad or something. Because I've been down that road where you're
What do you mean? A partner?
Dad's talking to you about sports.
Oh, okay.
Like, yo, you know, and you're like,
and he's
yeah,
a moron.
man. Right. Awful.
You've had this?
I've had this happen to me before, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. You know, I've never had it. I deal with it at work a lot, and I just yes people to death.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
You should tweet that out. You should put that on Facebook, please.
Yeah, you're right. Tom Brady, he wasn't that clutch. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
No, LeBron.
Steph Curry really isn't that good of a shooter. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
LeBron's not the GOAT. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well,
that's a little extreme. Yeah, that's a little extreme.
No, it's not.
All right, JM. Well, by the next week, we'll really be getting in again to the nitty gritty here. You worried about seeing Taylor Swift too much?
Yes. Not worried. It's going to happen. So just accept it.
She was on none, by the way, last week because Kelsey had a crap game. So all the Eagles have to do is take Kelsey out of the game, but lose, and we'll be good.
Exactly.
We'll be good to go. All right, so we'll be back next week. I'm not sure. I'm guessing we'll do Wednesday into Thursday. Record Wednesday, probably, out Thursday. So normal schedule like we've done for the postseason. We'll talk to you guys next week. Really appreciate the support, and have a good weekend.